My name is Samantha McCarthy, and I'm the innovator of the Global Green Democracy Initiative, or GGDI textbook, 7Gens, and at Sammy71 Substack and YouTube channels. I want to give you a little history about myself and what has brought me to this point in my life, spending the last 9 years working on a system that I have finally finished at this very necessary point in our global chaos, where we find ourselves currently. I also want people to have hope for us, the 99%, to live our best lives on the other side of this chaos. But in order to get the world out of this mess, we, the 99%, have to choose what kind of life we want for us, our kids, and future generations that follow us. Around 9 years ago, I was meditating on my deck and praying about the world, the earth, our kids, and what we were leaving them, and this entire reverse financial system was downloaded into my mind. And it was funny because I went in the house and said to my husband that I think I know how to save our world. He kind of laughed and looked at me funny, but over the last 9 years, he has seen how very extensive the system is and how much the world is ready for a new earth and a person-focused system. A world where we change from an extraction, destruction, enormous ego, and insatiable greed system to a new stewardship of our shared world for all of us to thrive. I know the people of the world are living in extreme stress and are losing hope due to the 1%'s global domination and destruction for their complete and utter control. At one point, the 1% were okay if we had a middle class. I'm not talking about developing countries, because we know that 1% has committed genocide to steal their precious resources, while leaving their people and country broken for their benefit. I can only speak of my life experiences because I see how much the 1% are destroying people, communities, lives, and stealing their wealth and leaving them in poverty. This awful destruction of the 1% has escalated to where we are today. Our world is being destroyed by around 5 or 6 old men declaring war on the rest of us to control all of the precious resources instead of just working together and enabling countries to keep their wealth and promoting peace around the world. The 1%, which consists of about 2,900 billionaires around the world, or 1,000 in the US, are driving our world into absolute chaos. And we the people feel helpless until now. When I first had the download, I tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't let me rest, and I had no choice but to continue in order to maintain my sanity. There were many areas I was not comfortable with. One was being a woman advocate, as I come from a small town called Dryden, and there was about 6,500 people in my hometown growing up. And I felt, who would want to listen to me, a nobody from northwestern Ontario? But the further I got into bringing the system to fruition, the world seemed to be changing. And now, after 9 years, the world is ready for the radical idea of equality, equity, and global stewardship. At the beginning, I hoped that I could just do a couple little flip charts and brochures, but around 2022, I finally came to terms with the fact that I had to write a textbook so that I could share this new world and philosophy with the world. I was always afraid that the 1% or people with nefarious ideas or intentions would corrupt the system to mirror our current system. And I'm pleased to say that I've now prevented this from happening. I have built my incorruptible system. This textbook, here's binder number 1, and binder number 2. I have built the whole stewardship governance system that protects it, all based on the textbook's mission and philosophy. I wanted to ensure that there was no way for those who are destroying our world to be able to continue their ongoing corruption through my system. But now it's impossible. So now that I have given you a bit of history of where this started and where it is now, I have also been posting videos for around a year, and for those who regularly follow me, I want to thank you for your support and for loving our world and your fellow humans enough to sit through videos that I hope bring you hope. I also wanted to let you know that I am now more than ready to actually launch the entire system. For the last couple months, I stepped back from recording and posting, and I want to explain why. I didn't step back because the work wasn't urgent. I stepped back because it was. What I've been sharing publicly for years is not just commentary, it's a system. And systems don't survive on ideas alone. They survive on structure. During this pause, I built the operating and legal foundation that makes this work durable, accountable, and resistant to corruption. Not just content, but governance. Not just vision, but standards. And not just passion, but rules that protect intent long after the founder has stepped away. We now have a complete, legally grounded, standard-based framework, governance, evidence rules, oversight, accountability loops, and education, all aligned so that no single person, founder, or institution can bend it for short-term gains. And that matters because history shows us something uncomfortable. Movements fail not because their ideas are wrong, but because their structures are weak. What I've built is an operating system for long-term thinking, one that treats ecological survival, human dignity, democracy, and security as non-negotiable in the system, not optional values. Just to let you know what I'm speaking about the Global Green Democracy Initiative textbook, it is a reverse financial system that takes back our money and invests it into our world to heal our collective trauma and move our world to sustainability before it's too late. It now has the operating manual, aka stewardship, governance, HR, etc., and each of this supports the other. Every person deserves a shorter work week, benefits, pensions, sick days, holidays, clean water, land, and air, a chemical-free food chain. They deserve sustainable and safe communities. Our kids deserve the right to work safely, purchase a home, and afford a family. And the GGDI is about building a system securing our basic human rights, access to a union so that industry can be held responsible, and that workers can be protected from their greed. It is time for a worker and earth-focused world, even if it upsets the 1% and removes their control over us. This is why I'm starting again with a free mini training and a short, accessible introduction to why short-term thinking keeps failing us, and what a system-based alternative actually looks like. I'll be releasing an 8-part deeper series for those who want to go further, not into ideology, but into how systems really function, where they break, and how we transition responsibly without blame. And then for institutions, educators, and partners, there is a full course pathway grounded in evidence, governance, and accountability designed to be used, taught, and adapted responsibly. I didn't disappear. I built something that can't be easily corrupted, and now it's ready to be shared. I know that I am not the only person to feel this negative electric energy that has taken over our world, one cloaked in control, dominance, and destruction, one that has crept into our lives all across this great world. We are watching a few forcing their control and dominance on the masses. This group of men have no intention of making our world better. Their only goal is to take over the world before the next rich man does, so that they can have global control. Whether or not we the masses are consenting to this violation of our lives and world. But see, I look at this time in history as the great reveal. What was always hidden, the control, the hate, the abuse of men, women, and children, the hoarding of wealth at the expense of the world and future generations, has finally exposed their ugly agenda. If anyone was in denial before how corrupt our world is, the 1% have made sure that we certainly see them for exactly who they are. And this gives the 99% finally a choice. We can't support this system that is unsustainable. And we have to come to the uncomfortable conclusion that it is time for a system for we the people. It is time to look at how our world is structured and understand that the growth of our world is completely based on extraction and consumption. But this form of global predatory capitalism is destroying our world, and it is not a stable economy. We have to come to terms with the fact that there are limited resources in our world, and that the 1% do not have the right to extract until our global demise. It is time for us to understand that change is always painful, and that we have to understand that we have to come together and decide on our own for our future. We have to sit with ourselves, look at the people around us, and ask, is this the world we are all thriving in? Is this the world we want to leave our future generation? Do we want them to have better lives than we do? I know for one, I say that I want our kids to have a better life than us, one where they don't fear the future like we are constantly sitting in. In order to get our world out of this mess, the 1% has us in. One where we have to look our role in the world instead of predators and extractors and move to one of stewardship, of responsibility to us, our world, and the living life forms that live on her, and our future generations. That and only that. way of thinking will save us and our world. When I share this work, I am very clear about something. Out of 100% of people, about 25% will immediately resonate with the work, and likely always will, and about 25% will resonate at first, but may, over time, disagree or disengage or move away as their thinking evolves. About 25% will not like this work, but may still find points of agreement or value within it. And about 25% will strongly disagree, and this is unlikely to change. And that's okay. This work is not designed to convince everyone. It's designed to serve the approximately 75% of people who can engage, question, learn, or partially agree, because that is where meaningful systems change actually happens. Trying to appease the final 25% would require diluting the work, avoiding hard truths, and sacrificing integrity. We don't have time for that. This framework isn't about winning arguments. It's about creating shared understanding where it's possible and building structures that work even when consensus doesn't exist. What I'm looking for is solutions that will help us get us out of the current mess the 1% have us in. I'm not looking for a fight. That is what they want us to do, so that we are so distracted with our grievances that we don't see that the whole picture of how our world is being destroyed by enormous egos and insatiable greed. The time is for solutions, not strife. I don't look at this change of vision as a bad thing. I actually look at it as our greatest chance to become the keepers of the world that our shared creator always wanted and expected us to be. We need to look at us as being caretakers of our world, one whose job is to make sure that the world and everything living on her is safe and sustainable. Stewardship is not about owning, it's about caring about every aspect of our lives, even those who are not even born yet. While I took my break, I also took a course to be able to complete the stewardship and governance system to ensure that the GGDI is uncorruptible. And I also realized that we, the people, need to understand that the 1% want to replace us workers with AI so that they can maintain their gross wealth. But the problem is, it will thrust the rest of the 99% into poverty, and that's unacceptable. I do see how AI will replace many jobs, but my system is about protecting people and the earth. I guess what is wrong with the rich is that they are so far removed from the rest of us that they don't see our suffering in the same light. They look at everything as how they can extract more wealth or protect what they think belongs to them. But it is our world too, and our journey on earth. And we don't have to live under these unsustainable and suffering conditions. I know for me, I do not give them permission to continue to do this to my life or world, or the life of my kids, your kids, and the kids they hope to have one day. My system, instead of funneling all the money to the top 1%, takes our money back and invests it into we the people in the world. The 1% have convinced us that we need them, and they are the whole system, but this is a lie, and I will explain why. It is we the people who pay the taxes that hold the system together. The 1% pay people to avoid taxes, both personal and business. They take bailouts, and we subsidize the actual industries that are destroying our world, and they try and make us thank them for giving them our money to destroy our world. The 1% pay slave wages and no full-time work, forcing their workers to work excessive hours or hold multiple jobs to make ends meet, thereby destroying families for greed. But this is not acceptable or sustainable. By avoiding taxes, it is we the people who pay for the infrastructure, all the emergency services, all the schools, all the roads, all the social services, all the military funding, while the rich think of a better way to hoard more wealth while not helping our world to be sustainable for future generations. This greed is short-term thinking, and it is what will be our demise if we continue to allow them to steal all the money while attempting to thrust us into poverty, so that they can force us all into unethical, dangerous conditions that mirror what they are doing in developing nations. We've had nothing to replace this disgusting system until now. So imagine if the 1% had to pay their fair share of taxes. Imagine what we could do with all that money that we would be investing into our system to make it better for all. Imagine the services, shorter work week, full benefits, pensions, so that we live out our golden years not in poverty. I believe that instead of hoarding the money to the top, we can build a system with a 32.5-hour work week so that we have more time for our families and ourselves. And if we have to go down to a 3-day work week, then we can do that. If the 1% have a choice, they will lay us all off and leave us to suffer. But we don't have to accept this fate. We can choose our own lives. We just have to realize that we all have free will and that we have to actually choose our future instead of leaving it in the hands of those hell-bent on global control and destruction. Also, with all the 1% owning all the social media sites and reading that they are censoring and altering the algorithms to avoid letting the masses know what is going on in our world. For example, the genocides going on in many countries, like Russia's genocide in Ukraine to steal their precious resources and land and to take over Europe, or Israel's genocide on Gaza and the Palestinian people to steal their lands and resources, or the Iranian people taking on their barbaric regime to get their freedom and their government trying to commit genocide to gain their control of their people. The genocide going on in Sudan and all the African nations being forced into slave labor by those greedy 1%ers so that we in the West can have access to our cushy lives. This has to stop. This insanity has to end. It is our world, too. And for those women in countries who have their rights taken away, I just want you to know that I see you. The world sees you. And we didn't have any options to support you out of your suffering until now. The GGDI that was downloaded into my mind 9 years ago is the solution to every person on Earth suffering, and it was not available until now. But also, I don't think if I had brought this system even a year ago, it would be a harder sell. But in the last year, with the new administration being sworn in the U.S., who would have thought we would be in this position where the whole world is under threat to protect a group of men abusing women, girls, and boys to prevent accountability? Who would have thought that the U.S. would become a threat to global peace because of the madness of these men hell-bent on dominating the world? To them I say, your time has come to an end. The people of the world, once they realize that there is a humane option for all to thrive, will choose sustainability over destruction. And because the rich control the news and the narrative, is why I will be mainly focusing on my Substack and my YouTube channels, as they will also take all the long-form videos I will be creating. People will be able to access my videos from my website as well. So I will be able to continue to promote our new world. And I have over 44 social media sites between the 4 accounts. I also have my handles on all the other platforms, but are inactive because I wanted to ensure that I owned all of my handles so that I could make it less likely to have them hacked. And I want to limit supporting platforms that are intentionally destroying our world. So please follow and subscribe to my Substack and YouTube channels. I will have paid versions to invite you into more private videos so that you can get to know me better. And on these videos, I will also be discussing current events and how the GGDI is the cure for this form of predatory capitalism that is destroying our world. I have also made the decision that if some of the videos don't post, I'm not going to worry about it. So I will be focusing on the sites that are the least able to be censored. And what I am seeing across the platforms is nothing short of brainwashing when they control the narrative. And because I will be talking about very sensitive topics that will upset the 1%, I am sure that once people pick up on hope and opportunity to build a new inclusive world, the 1% will be threatened. So in anticipation, I've decided that it is a bonus if my videos stay on these sites. But if they don't, I will have other options to reach the people. So please purchase my textbook that I will be narrating on the videos to support my fight for humanity and our shared Mother Earth. Please follow me on any of the other social media sites, but know that there may be videos missing depending on how long the video I can post on them. And because I am teaching a new way of thinking and philosophy, there will be many long-form videos that you will miss and longer short videos due to the limitations of the site. But on Substack and YouTube, as well as TikTok, they take all long-form videos. So thank you for spending this time with me. What you've just seen isn't a pitch for ideology or a movement. It's an invitation to understand why our systems keep failing and how they can be rebuilt with responsibility, care, and long-term thinking. The Global Green Democracy Initiative exists to make those structures visible, teachable, and accountable, so that change doesn't depend on personalities, power, or good intentions alone. If this work resonates with you, there are a few ways that you can support it. You can continue learning by purchasing the GGDI textbook and course materials. What I often call is the instruction manual on how to heal our earth. You can also support this work simply by sharing it. Conversations change when people have better tools to think with. If you'd like to follow along, you can find ongoing education videos and updates through my channels and newsletter, all linked below. This work is not about saving the world alone. It's about building systems that don't require heroes or function. Thank you for being here and for choosing to think beyond the short term.